Prem Ashram Boys is, I'm a little nervous because it's a new book that's in progress, right? Probably 65% through the rough draft. So when the rough draft is done of the manuscript, that's a watershed moment because then it's polishing and polishing, adding to. So at this point, it's probably up. It's been work in progress for a year and a half.
Just throw it out.
The new book is about the Prem Ashram Boys, and it's a collaboration with Farshid and Farshid from Myrtle Beach, because I couldn't do it alone without the Persian input, the Farsi, and it's a natural fit because it's. How many people have read Sahavas and Throbs here? Okay. Sahavas and Throbs is a published work on the Prem Ashram years from 1927 to 29, when Baba had a free international school in Mehrabad and Toka. And out of that free, mostly the kids were Hindi, Muslim, Zoroastrian. There was only one Christian. He wanted more Christians. That's why Ruston went to England in 1928 to get more Christian boys, but he brought back Meredith there instead, right? And he had some Christian boys lined up, but their parents at the end went, no way, no way. The three characters, I'm not only nervous about talking about a book that's not published, but if I have time, I'll tell you how this happened, how I got into it. But the three boys we're concentrating on are Aga Ali, who was a hero of Sahavas and Throbs, Chodi Baba, who was, his real name is Abdul Pakravan. He achieved the 6th plane in the Prem Ashram. And Esfandiar Vasali is a third person. So I'm going to, unlike Duncan and Purdom, it's going to be three stars through the book. What happened to them later in life, their final years. So that's the plan. There's, as I said before, there's always beautiful surprises in the research. I love the research, and one of the ones with Chodi Baba, I think everybody knows that Aga Ali went to the West with Baba in 1931, right? And Baba really wanted Chodi Baba to go, but Chodi Baba left Baba in 1929, heartbroken, and Baba cried when they parted in Persia, and he never saw Baba again. So early in the research, there was a sweet moment when I made contact with Chodi Baba's daughter in Dubai, right? And Shanaz Pakravan, the family connections, like I said, with the Dawkins and Purdoms, and now this is just beautiful. Shanaz's background, she was a frontline TV journalist for Al Jazeera and BBC television. She had her own morning show on BBC television. Can you imagine?
Did you say Al Jazeera? Did you say Al Jazeera?
Yeah, I probably mispronounced that. Today she runs her own film company out of Dubai. Did you knew about her, Mehernoush? I think you did. Farshid did anyway. That she was Chodi Baba's daughter.
I didn't know.
She loved her father dearly, right? But he physically left Baba's company in October 1929, never to see Baba again. So, she interviewed her father about the Prem Ashram days early in her journalism career, because it was a fascinating connection that she wanted to. So I have a copy of that interview. It's just beautiful.
Wow.
And she was at her father's bedside the night before he died in 1983 at the age of 73 in Dubai. Anyway, as I said, he never saw Baba after October 1929, but his inner contact with Baba remained worthy and vibrant throughout his life. Because you've got to understand, the sixth plane was the highest plane achieved by any of the Prem Ashram Boys. And Jyoti Baba was, he was pretty well unconscious and in a daze for 3 or 4 days after that happened. Ironically, he later worked in Bandar Abbas in the import-export business with Baba's disciple Mirji for 10 years straight, and yet Baba never saw him. But Mirji was away from Baba for 10 years in Bandar Abbas, and Baba encouraged Mirji to make and maintain contact with Jyoti Baba, perhaps watching over him, because Jyoti Baba was in prison for a little while. And that, it was a misunderstanding, but he was like at least 3 months in prison, and that was after he went back to Iran. Right now, there's always mysteries with the books, and the biggest mystery is Aga Ali, the big star of Sahavas and Tribes. What happened to him? He went to, we know in 1931 he went to the UK, went to the US with Baba, and he's even pictured in a little Gandhi film footage getting off the ship in the UK in 1931 when Baba traveled on the same ship as Gandhi to London. Anyway, he was the main hero of that book, Sahavas and Tribes. I'll just do a little aside because this will come out in Charles Purdom. After Charles Purdom, I was in a mess just from dealing with Charles, and Dana Ferry had just read Ramju's Diaries, and Sahavas and Tribes is a supplement in that, right? And Dana said, I hadn't read the book for 30 years, so I went back to read it. When I reread Sahavas and Tribes and the love that these boys had for Baba, I just said, I have to go there. I have to go there because Charles was such a head case that I was intellectually, I didn't want to be with a head case because I had been with William Donkin, who was more a lover of Baba, but Charles questioned everything. I'll bring that out on Friday. Anyway, what happened to Aga Ali? He was the main hero of Sahavas and Tribes, and the ongoing turmoil between Aga Ali's father, they're devout Muslims, right? Aga Ali's father would beg Baba to take Ali as a student. Then he would go home to his business community and peers, leaving his son in the Mehernoush Ashram. And the neighbors would get on his case about letting his son go to this Parsi's school, right?
Sure.
And maybe losing his religion. There was all kinds of terrible rumors about what was going on in the Mehernoush Ashram. Not nudist colony, Mir Center rumors, but a little variation of it. Anyway, Haji, which is Aga Ali's father, he respected Baba, but as I said, he seesawed constantly between approving his son being there and dragging him out, taking him home. It happened at least 6 times, and Ali ran away, walked, took trains, tried to figure out the route back to Mehrabad where he wouldn't be caught by the police. This is this little kid because of his love for Baba, right? And it was just, anyway, when Baba visited Persia and Iran in the fall of 1929, on the same day, he went to Mubarak, and that's where Aga Ali's relatives originated from. And the relatives grabbed a hold of Ali and wouldn't let him go back to India with Baba. And that same day, Choti Baba said, I'm out of here too, Baba. You know, the same day he lost both of those boys, right? He was later prominent in traveling with Baba to the West, like in 31. So what happened? Badul, we've heard of Badul, which is one of Baba's leading disciples, the musk chaser, and he looked after the boys a lot in the Mehernoush and Prem Ashram. He literally kidnapped Aga Ali from his relatives, including his mother, in Iran, and was thrown in prison for doing it. And get him back to Baba.
Badul was thrown in prison?
Badul. He kidnapped Aga Ali to get him to Baba so Baba could take Ali to the West.
He was caught.
And he was caught later and put in jail. Anyway, when Ali returned from the West, he was sent back to his father in Bombay. That would have been 1931. And after this, his contact with Baba was sporadic. And the last mention of Ali in Lord Mayhare is March 1935. Never a mention after. So that's a sort of loose end for the book. I don't know what happened to Aga Ali. I suspected for a couple of months that he died during the war. And now I've got new information that Adi K said he lived well into the 1960s. But I don't have detail. And as I often say to Jane, where is this written? I can't find written accounts of Ali's later life, but the book won't be published until I find out what happened to him. So, any questions from anybody?
I have a small question.
Sure.
Because I've been a friend of Franny Foreman for many years, is she Baidul's daughter?
Granddaughter.
Granddaughter.
Sorry? Granddaughter.
Granddaughter.
Okay, thank you. I could never ask anyone, and I didn't.
Anyway, there are always mysteries to solve and rocks to kick over with Baba, and for now, this small pebble lies amongst the beautiful petals that I've come across all along the way. And God willing, we'll be able to solve the Aga Ali mystery before too long.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, the 6th plane Prem Ashram Boys, Choti
Baba.
actually worked with Mehrdji in
For 10 years in the import-export business.
Now, he was on the 6th plane, obviously still conscious of the gross world, even though he's...
He had to work in the gross world. He wasn't really good at business.
Oh.
Abdullah, I could go on and on about him because he married twice, had 4 children. His first wife died in childbirth with his second child. He married a highly placed woman, the second marriage, in the cultural ministry in Iran. She was at just below the ministry level. She wrote her own autobiography. There's a picture of Choti Baba at the ashram in her book. It's just beautiful stuff. She said we'd go to cocktail parties. I would be chatting up 2 people. My husband would be in the corner with 8 people, and he wasn't saying a word. There was a charm, right? That was the charm. They were drawn to him because of, and all he did at home, he just locked himself up in his library with his books, according to his daughter. He loved his family, but Dad was always in his library, locked up with his books. So he was probably trying to maintain something. And, for a couple of years, he begged for a typewriter to be sent to him from Mehrabad shortly after he left. I'm sure he wanted to write about his experience, but I don't know if he ever got a typewriter. Anyway, the main character in the book is going to be Esfandiar Vasali. I've just I reviewed about 30 DVDs made available through Farshid, and unbelievable. I mean, how many people have met Esfandiar here? Okay. Anyway, the talks were given in India, Myrtle Beach, California, Washington State, and these talks, they're beyond joyful. They're beyond joyful. They're just beautiful.
The one time that we went to meet him and hear him talk, Farshid there,
Right.
we go into the meeting room, we sit down, and Esfandiar wanted to meditate for 2 hours. And that's what we did.
That's great, that's super.
So we never got to hear him.
You know what he said that night?
What?
What?
There are 2 people in the room that aren't Baba lovers,
We don't know.
so you didn't want to talk.
So he was,
Oh, that's what he said to
They are
me.
not Baba lovers.
Right, 2 people.
It
And if you heard the names, you'd go, what? But who knows?
Oh, that far.
I keep thinking about what you said. I think I might be wrong, but that Baba said you don't experience the gross plane when you're on the 6th plane, but automatically it looks like you do. I mean, it's like automatic that you're still in a body and living.
Yeah.
yeah, you're
You are,
going
but
through
you're not
emotions.
really-
Yeah, you're going through emotions, but you're not attached. That's for sure. So. Anyway, my thanks go, and our thanks should go out to Farshid and Mehernoush, who has also served as an interpreter for
Yeah,
That's fine.
the first one.
Farshid prompted Esfandiar out of the spiritual closet in India. I think it was 1989. Does that sound right, Mehernoush? When Farshid had read Sahavas and Trobs, and in it Baba said Esfandiar had achieved the 3rd plane while in the Prem Ashram. The Prem Ashram was a spin-off from the Mehernoush Ashram. And Esfandiar was the first student that said, I'm not interested in studies, I just want to find God, right? And he was only a young teenager when he said that. And so he wouldn't study, and then Baba started to channel some boys into the Love Ashram, the Prem Ashram. It's a much smaller group, never got over 20, and there was over 100 students in the bigger school, right? But he started to segregate the true lovers of God and that the whole time in Toka was Prem Ashram, because he wanted the boys away from Meherban, and he would, it's the things you don't find out. If you weren't measuring up as a Prem Ashram boy, Baba would send them back to Meherban, and they begged not, if they made a little mistake, it was very serious, it was very serious. And they'd beg, and often he'd forgive them and say, okay, you can stay, but just make sure that you don't stray or you don't, do this again. Anyway, Farshid cornered Esfandiar in India, this is the way I heard the story, and said, I've read Sahavas and Trobs, and Farshid grew up with Esfandiar. But he said, you never talk to us. You never tell us about your experiences. You have to start talking to us. We want to hear about the Prem Ashram. We want to hear about your relationship with Baba. So Esfandiar said, you got me. So that's when he started. He really didn't. Now, Mehernoush will probably say he was doing it in Iran, but not on a wider, not in a global sense. So he really basically said to Farshid, I guess I'll start talking. And that's when the appearances at the different places took over, right? Anyway, I can't help but thank Farshid and Mehernoush for being interpreters and do you want to share a little bit about your relationship with Esfandiar?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Jai Baba.
Shade Baba.
I was very fortunate to born in a family that was very connected to Meher Baba, first of all, and also to be in direct contact with one of their Prem Ashram Boys, Esfandiar Vasali. He was actually our neighbor, and basically when I was born, I was taken to the same neighborhood, so I didn't have to go away to Tehran or something like that. So I was in the neighborhood. And I just remember when I was growing up, he was always very gentle, very loving. And from young age, I remember that he always looked into my eyes and said, "Oh, she got the color of Baba's eyes." And my eye was lighter. It was more honey, but now it's darker. So, then later in life, my mom and dad, of course, they went to the mass darshan in 1969, and they came back. And I was 7 years old, I was looking into the sky, looking at the cloud, and then I asked my mother that, where is God? And at that time, at that moment, my mom was actually doing some sewing. So she left everything behind, and she came and she sat to me, and she said, "Mehernoush, you don't have to worry about God. Here, Meher Baba is God, and we just have to love him and worship him as God." So then I took that. So that was my first step, to take it from my mother. And then later in life, I seeing all these beautiful painting and images of Meher Baba, you kind of fall in love. You see that it's such a celestial, such an angelic, such a divine look, such a beautiful, what's glorious. And so I remember there was a Baba meeting, a Baba gathering, and in Tehran, in Iran, usually men sit separate and women and children sit separate, in two different rooms. But then while the meeting is going on, we all share. The books are being read and all that. And I was like 9-year-old, and there was love personified, and then here, somebody opened the book, and it was the silence, everybody was taking silence. And I was looking at that beautiful image of Baba, and I said, "Oh my God," and I was just dazing, and something was happening, like a little exchange, that your mind had stopped. And I just remember, suddenly, Esfandiar leaves the men's side, and then he comes and he just sits next to me, because he felt that. And then he just brings the picture closer to me. So he actually passed over two big walls, which is a gender as well as the age. So he let the men away, he let the older away, and he just came and he sat next to me, because there was a revolution going on.
Oh, yeah.
And later on, he told me that if you continue loving Baba, then you can be united to him, you can be one with him. And that was a guidance, a key, that what else do I need? Here I have God in human form, and now I have to love him. And it was just so beautiful. And then every single night, like in the evening, he would come with his wife, and he would share us all those beautiful, beautiful Prem Ashram time and stories, and he would tell us that oh, you are children, you are young, you are so pure. This is the time that you should love
Baba
me.
made
Baba."
Esfandiar his charge man in Iran. His charge, he was Baba's representative in Iran. This is big,
Yeah, so there were, many people would come to the meeting, and they always had all this question, and then sometimes for some of them they would just go silent. He wouldn't even talk, It's like, and then my mom would ask, why didn't you talk to him? He's like a scholar in university. Oh no, Mehernoush, Shirin, whatever I tell him, he's not open to receive. So it's waste of time. He would say, it's a waste of time. So he knew to whom to talk. And
He could read, he
Yeah,
sure could read
yeah.
people. Thank you,
So,
Mehernoush.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Yay!